springtime. It is Taurus season. If you've been walking the beauty way with us at Connect the Dots, we have been exploring in Taurus season the tenets of this way of life, which is called the beauty way. And over the last few weeks, I introduced a certain plant and a certain herb that has helped me in my life integrate these tenets. So as we see the plant, if it's around us or the tree, or any part of the kingdom of greenery that we're lucky enough to enjoy, we can start to ingest and integrate some of these medicines, really bask in them. And so last week, we explored the medicine of cedar, which is an evergreen tree. And we talked a little bit about the nature of doing versus being. So when we think of sitting and drinking tea, or when we think of going to a yoga class or stepping out and doing groceries or completing our work on our laptop, these are verbs, right? These are actions. They're even how you describe a verb is it's a doing thing. And so we get to be very engrossed in our doing nature. And that's lovely. But we often experience an imbalance, which is where chronic exhaustion, tiredness, this hamster wheel of life tends to be how we feel because we are imbalanced in our doing nature versus our being nature. So if you missed that video, we talked about that a little bit last time. And, when I think of spiritual activities, sitting in prayer, chanting, going to yoga is a very common example. Again, when we're new, and even if we're on the path, we have to carve out time to do these independent spiritual or divine actions. We do things to make ourselves feel better, which is great. But when we get deeper into the beauty way, what actually starts to happen, and this is sort of the higher octave of the expression, our doing nature and our being nature sort of merge into one. And this is where we start to experience a blurring of ourselves doing something separate than our being. And this to me is a space of mastery. When you are looking at a master when you're looking at a master at work, they are one with their work. And so this is where life becomes a meditation, life becomes a prayer, life becomes, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're watching Netflix, whether you're, driving your car, this is sort of that unveiling of the inner nature that a lot of, mystics and people very far along on the spiritual path sort of talk about. And so this lovely aspect of merging our doing and being nature, how is that even accomplished? And so to me, that points to one of the tenets of the beauty way, which is what we're talking about today. And it's amazing because we're flush in springtime. I got these beautiful flowers. All of life in the world around us is really effulgent with vibrance, effortlessly, right? And this is sort of that teaching. The way through for me is to actually honor the mysteries. And so one of the tenets of the beauty ways that helps us marry our doing nature from our being nature is having a relationship with what we do not know, with what is mysterious, with what is unmanifested at this point. And the interesting thing is when a lot of times when we think about things we don't know, when we think about something that's mysterious, there is an urge, there's a desire. Either we, want to figure it out with our cerebral processing, with our thinking mind, or we're afraid of it and we want to sort of ignore it, repress it, deny it. And so having a healthy relationship with mysteries in a way that it strengthens us, strengthens our sense of self, that is sort of the opening. That is the path. That is the teaching that's available to us, especially this week. We're in the middle of Taurus season. We have a full moon coming up in Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign in the zodiac that is very very much attuned to the unknown and to what is mysterious, right? What we cannot comprehend. And so this sounds a little crazy, right? The notion of having a relationship to mystery, to something you don't know, and actually have it strengthen you. Because our common experience might be the opposite. Imagine if you're in a room and everyone's talking about a subject that you know nothing about, right? When we're younger, when we're children, maybe we're more curious and we can ask questions. But as adults, we sort of fall into this pattern that, oh, maybe if I ask a question, I'll feel stupid. Is it right? Right? It really impacts our sense of self. And our sense of self is impacted because we are yet to integrate the mysteries into our being. So the plant and herb that brought this teaching to me in my life is sweetgrass. So this right here is a braid of sweetgrass. It was gifted to me maybe 3 years ago. So this is a grass, obviously. It has these long, luxurious braids. It is then harvested, dried, and then braided together in this form. And even today, 3 years later, this still carries the potent fragrance of the grass. I also use it in spray form. It makes a great tea. And sweetgrass has a lot of medicine for the body, for the emotions. You know, it's an antioxidant. It's really good for like dry skin if you have like rashes, especially, or chapped skin. The tea is really amazing as well. It has respiratory benefits. But in the context of what we're talking about today, sweetgrass is the medicine of braiding or integrating allness. And if you have ever had the gift of braiding either your own hair or someone else's hair, or if you are interested in basket weaving where you've had to do this action of braiding something like braiding sweetgrass, for example, you start off with 3 sections, right? And these 3 sections represent the threefold nature of us, right? They represent body, mind, and spirit, and the integration of this. In the context of what I'm talking about, and especially how sweetgrass came to me, it is the nature of what is manifest, which is one braid, what is unmanifest, which is the other braid, and then the middle braid is the human of us, our being nature that actually embodies and keeps and holds what is manifest and what is unmanifest. And so in working with this, and the simple explanation I once received a long time ago is, like hair, you can break hair, right? Like even if someone has really strong, thick hair, if you pull it with sufficient force, you can break it. Similar to grass. But when you braid something, it is a lot stronger, right? Like I'm pulling this apart. And the integration, the weaving together of matter, spirit, and like mind, matter, spirit, psyche, soma, and divinity, or in this case, manifest, unmanifest, and the human, that actually makes us stronger. And the experience of having a relationship with this is something that we cannot learn by doing. We learn by experiencing it. And so the invitation today, I know one of the ways to work with sweetgrass is, if it grows in your surrounding area, to certainly have a moment where you can sit and breathe in its fragrance. Right? Again, the aspect here is not go out and learn this and do this, and then you'll, learn how to, there's no course that helps you learn the mystery. It is simply by the act of being human and basking in what we do not know until we develop a luxurious comfort with it. One of the other medicines of sweetgrass is that it's called hair of the mother. It is very closely associated with Earth Mother, the maternal, and we're coming up to Mother's Day really soon, right? So that's a beautiful synchronicity and relationship there. But in relating to hair, that is, something that we braid very commonly on our bodies. If you can braid someone's hair today or this week, or even braid your own, or if you find long strings of grass, And simply sit quietly, meditatively with that act of braiding and see what rises for you within your sense of self as you shift from your doing, acting, performative nature into simply being with the moment, being with the breath, and basking with what you are already doing. Another great way to sit with sweetgrass medicine is certainly by burning it. This is the smudging part that comes to us from many First Nations communities. So this is a sacred plant on the medicine wheel. And so it can be, harvested. It can be drank as tea. As I mentioned, I use it in a spray form as well. And even by simply burning it and taking conscious, deep, grateful, connective breaths, we then start to open up to this relationship with what we know and what we do not know. The one thing I'd say, when we know something, like we know math, right? You know how to read and write. The knowing of something can sometimes be about the logical understanding of something. So if you know astrology, you logically understand it. If you know how engines of a car work, you have a logical, comprehensive understanding of it. When we don't know something, we seek relationship with it in a healthy body, in a healthy mind-body integration space. We seek relationship with it. We are heart and mind open. This is what we find so abundant with children, right? They just explore with unbounded energy. They are not yet concerned about looking stupid or feeling unsure and things like that. They are unburdened by any of that. And so when we logically understand something and we seek relationship with it and hold it in the human container of both and, then we get to meet ourselves and meet the world in a way that may not have been available to us before. So that is the invitation for this week as we lead up to the full moon in Scorpio, which is on Monday, I believe. So you have the weekend to really sit with this. And if sweetgrass is not something that grows in your area, that's absolutely fine. There are tons of other plants and flowers. The work here isn't to go and do something correct or perfectly. Rather, it is to sort of set distance from that notion and choose whatever it is that you are doing and shift gears almost internally so that you rest in the beingness of it. If it is simply going out and smelling flowers because it's beautiful and it's spring, but being with the action of that so that the fragrance and breath is what we bask in. So that is the invitation for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll put the replay on and I will see you next week.